Welcome into Austin Now, live from the Fox 7 Austin newsroom on this Wednesday, last day of the show for us until next week. And of course, as we mentioned last week, a new time for us going 6:30 to 7:30 live from right here inside the newsroom. You can join us on the Fox local app. You can join us on YouTube as well, YouTube Live. You can rewatch episodes as well. You can also follow us at fox7austin.com and all of our social media, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, at Fox 7 Austin. I was going to show you guys some live images. We're going to wait on those to come up. But as we talked about yesterday, there have been some protests. There have been some vigils held around the country for the 37-year-old Alex Preddy, who was shot and killed in Minneapolis just about 5 days ago in the wake of the ICE operations we have seen in the state of Minnesota. We have seen the videos of the shooting. I know we've showed that a little bit. We will try to show it after we get this image up. If we want to wait for that, I can pull up the image from that shooting. It is quite graphic, but so many people around the country analyzing this video, taking it frame by frame, multiple angles, trying to figure out what happened. In terms of an update on the situation, the Department of Homeland Security was saying that Alex Preddy obviously did have a 9mm on him. They did confirm that the two men who were involved in the shooting, we saw about 6 to 7 ICE agents actually there sort of wrestling with him in those frigid temperatures out in Minnesota. That was during the morning, and we saw two men firing shots. We don't know the identities of those men. Obviously, Kristi Noem has been asked about this as well. Greg Bovino has been asked about this. They said they didn't want to dox those people, but we do know that they have been pretty much on leave since this happened as the investigation continues. This is one of the angles here. And we will pull this up just to show you guys that. We're still waiting. As I mentioned, there's a vigil being held here in Austin, central Austin. Obviously, Alex Preddy was an ICU nurse, and so there's a group, a nurse association group gathering tonight to hold a vigil in honor of him right here in central Austin. So once we get that image up, I'll try to bring it to you guys, but I do want to show video that's been circulating in terms of what happened here with Alex Preddy. And obviously a lot of people have been trying to analyze it frame by frame, as I said here. It looks as though he had a gun in his back, part of his belt here. And you've got multiple federal agents here. And so according to this video, they were saying the gun was removed there, but then obviously we all know how it ended, and you hear gun, gun, and then shots are fired. We're still waiting to get more. And President Trump says he does want to, know the full extent of what happened. He does want to have a full investigation. So it's certainly something we've been keeping our eyes on. There was another video released, and I don't know if we want to show that video yet. It was released by a small account. This was allegedly the 9mm that we were talking about here. There was a video released earlier today. The video initially said that it was obtained by the BBC, but if you look more deeper into it, that's not the case. They said that they used BBC's facial recognition technology to confirm if this video that happened about 11 days prior to his killing was him, and they said they could confirm that, but that hasn't been verified by any of the major outlets. That hasn't been verified, specifically by any of our properties here with Fox News. So that's something that I'll continue to monitor for you guys, but I don't know if we're at that point where we want to see that. So we'll try and once again show you that footage if I can find it here. Still waiting on those images. Anyway, we'll take a quick break. When we come back, I do want to see if we can get this image up for you guys of this vigil. Until then, you can follow us right here on the Fox local app. You're watching Austin Now on this Wednesday. Welcome back to Austin Now, live from the Fox 7 Austin newsroom. You're watching us on the Fox Local app on this Wednesday. You can also, of course, watch us on YouTube. I know a lot of you out there pretty much just watch YouTube. So there is that live tab right there. You can rewatch episodes as well. Before we went to break, I was mentioning that we were expecting to get some live images from a vigil being held here in central Austin for Alex Preddy, the 37-year-old who was shot and killed in Minneapolis by a federal agent on Saturday. That was Saturday morning. So in the middle of all of that was happening with this severe weather that we were having here, the Arctic blast that came through. This, of course, was a national story. Just like I mentioned, people looking frame by frame through this shooting. We did learn that out of the ICE agents there that were trying to essentially, apprehend him, 2 of them fired shots. Those 2 have been put on leave. We don't know who they are. We don't know when they'll be returning, but that's what we were told by DHS. I do want to show you here, we have an interview. Our own Katie Pratt was out there with our photographer going to this vigil here in central Austin, a group of nurses gathering because 37-year-old Alex Preddy was an ICU nurse as well. And so there's been a lot of people coming out sort of to pay their respects to him and offer their opinions on the situation. So I do want to, this was taken just a few minutes ago from here in Austin. So we'll listen in to this interview here.
His final moments, he was doing what he did every day at work, which was protecting somebody or caring for someone, making sure they were okay before he was okay.
And so what all are y'all doing here tonight? I know that there's like candle lighting and people can kind of stop by throughout their shifts and stuff like that.
So here at our vigil tonight, we have candles. It's an event where folks can express their feelings. If they would like to, they can leave cards, notes, flowers, again to honor Alex. And we're advocating for less ICE, for the abolishment of ICE. We want to keep our community safe, and our community members can't even seek care in the hospitals. They don't feel safe to leave their homes to get groceries or take their kids to school, seek care, and eventually it will lead to a sicker community. And we want to make sure that our community is served in the best way possible.
And are you seeing that fear here in Austin as well?
I think yes, because at this time of the year we usually see a high influx of patients, and obviously that's going to come and go in waves. But I feel like we are seeing less of the patients that we usually do at this time of the year, and it could definitely be due to the fact that they're scared to leave their homes.
Okay, perfect. And then last question, just kind of touch on how this is kind of like a nationwide movement that y'all are doing, having candlelight vigils all across.
So this, we're having a week of actions with National Nurses United. There are nurses across the country protesting ICE, protesting what is going on in Minnesota, across the country, folks being grabbed up off the streets or from their jobs, from schools, children, citizens being targeted, folks' civil rights being violated, and the fact that our government is eroding our rights. And so nurses across the country are standing up and saying no more.
Is there anything else you want to add that I didn't ask you?
Being a Texan, being someone from Texas, we're closer to the border than a lot of folks. And so we see firsthand the impact it could have on our communities. And so it's important for us to hold the line, to be there for our neighbors, to make sure that they're safe and cared for.
As you can see there, that woman obviously trying to hold back the tears, talking about Alex Preddy, saying that a group of nurses coming out here in central Austin in support of him. She said she believed that he was just trying to protect other people, which she says is something he did every day as a nurse. We, of course, have seen others who have a different opinion of what happened, saying that he shouldn't have been there at all. We've seen President Trump saying, you can't come there with a gun. And obviously this has stirred a conversation around gun rights and whether or not, is someone allowed to come to legally, yes, they are allowed to. If you legally have a gun, you can come to a protest such as that. So it's caused a lot of conversation online. Just to reiterate, those 2 Border Patrol agents who fired their weapons, as I mentioned, they have been placed on administrative leave. It doesn't say whether or not that's paid leave. This is, according to Fox News, they said the move is standard procedure, and the DHS says it should not be viewed as any suspicion of wrongdoing. The agents are no longer on field duty for now, they said. As I mentioned, Preddy, not only was he an ICU nurse, but he worked with the Department of Veterans as well. Shot and killed Saturday by those Border Patrol agents. The video footage appears to show him attempting to help a woman who was knocked down by those agents. So that's how that video starts, him being knocked down when he was sprayed with what looks like some sort of irritant. We don't know if that's mace, some sort of bear spray, something of that nature. He's then pushed to the ground. The video then shows an agent pulling Preddy's suspected gun, a 9mm pistol, from his waistband before other agents fire nearly a dozen shots in his direction. This is according to Fox News. One Border Patrol agent fired his CBP-issued Glock 19, and a second officer fired his CBP-issued Glock 47. Obviously, before that shooting, we had a lot of civilians yelling. We had people blowing whistles. There was an operation going on there, and we've seen many people trying to protest those types of situations. Regarding this, of course, there's always a Texas tie here, but during these ICE operations, we also saw an image circulating online of a little boy, a 5-year-old, whose father was trying to be apprehended by ICE, and that boy has been taken to an ICE facility here in Texas at the Dilley Detention Center down south towards San Antonio. And Texas Congressman Joaquin Castro, a Democrat who's also on the Intelligence Committee and the Foreign Affairs Committee, he is obviously down there representing San Antonio. He met with that boy and his father today. So I want to take you to his social media now. And so this is an image from earlier today. Joaquin Castro says, "Just visited with Liam and his father at Dilley Detention Center. I demanded his release and told him how much his family, his school, and our country loves him and is praying for him." And then Joaquin also was speaking what appeared to be sort of like a Facebook Live, and he reposted this as well. So I want you guys to be able to listen into what Congressman Castro had to say regarding the boy and his father being at the Dilley Detention Center down south. We'll listen into this.
Hi everyone, it's Joaquin Castro, Congressman for San Antonio, and y'all know that I was going to Dilley today along with Jasmine Crockett to visit with Liam Ramos and his dad, and also check on their welfare and demand their release, and also check on the 1,100 people who are at Dilley right now. I did have a chance to see Liam. We spent about 30 minutes with he and his dad. And Liam, he wasn't in any kind of emergency or anything physically, but you notice I posted a picture of us together because I know the whole country has been worried about him. His school and his classmates and his principal, his legal team, and his mom have been worried sick about him. I called his mom right away, right after I left Dilley, to let her know that we spoke with her husband and, of course, had a chance to visit with her son. His dad said that he hasn't been himself, that he's been sleeping a lot because he's been depressed and sad. And so Liam actually was not awake during our visit. He was sleeping. But we did let his dad know that his classmates at Valley View Elementary in Minnesota, that that they miss him and that they've kept his space and his desk for him, and they're waiting for him to get back. And his dad said that he's asked about his classmates and wants to get back to his school and with his family and with his community. And so I am concerned about his mental state. And we spoke to many parents throughout our visit. We were there from 11 to 2:30, so a very long inspection of the facility. We met during that time with over 100 people, with probably hundreds of people. There were a lot of parents there who talked about their kids experiencing deep depression, anxiety, people losing weight, both because of the bad food, but also because of their mental state. And with Liam, I very bluntly told the ICE officials there, the CoreCivic is the private prison and detention company that runs Dilley. I told everybody very clearly that the country is against what's going on, that Liam needs to be released, that the country demands his release, and that no child that's 5 years old should be in detention like that. And I want you to remember two things as you think about this. With Liam and his family specifically, they were legally allowed to come into the United States because they had applied for asylum. And people always talk about doing it the right way. This family used that CBP-1 app. That was supposed to be the orderly and efficient way. Instead of rushing the border, they said, okay, do it in an orderly and efficient way. That's what they did. And so they got an appointment that they were supposed to have in February for asylum. And instead, they get picked up, and he gets picked up in his cap and his backpack. His dad said that he's been asking about where his cap and his backpack are. So they were legally in the United States, and Donald Trump and his administration and Stephen Miller pull the rug out from under them. And then secondly, with respect to Dilley, with all of the people in that facility, there are no criminals in Dilley. Donald Trump said this was about arresting illegal criminal aliens. That's his language. There isn't a single criminal over there. Because if you've committed a crime and they detain you with your son or your daughter, you're an adult and you have a family member, a child, they separate you from your child and send the child to what's known as an ORR facility, which is run by Health and Human Services, a totally different facility. So all those people, those 1,100 people over there, they are people who are hardworking people. They're mothers and fathers. They're laborers. They're, people working in grocery stores, just everywhere. There were a lot of people. We asked, hey, how many people came here on the CBP-1 app? And a lot of people raised their hands. They did it the right way. They're not criminals, and yet they're ending up there. There is a 2-month-old baby that's over there. 2-month-old baby that's in there right now. So there were many children just like Liam. And so we demand their release. They talked about all the mental health issues, medical issues, just the terrible quality of the food and what they're getting fed, the cost to buy things, all of these things, all of these issues. And again, remember, these are people, I think in some of the public's mind, especially people that are very anti-immigrant, they want to think of these people as prisoners, as though they've committed a murder or a robbery or something like that. Those are not criminals. And this immigration issue is not about, it's a civil issue. That's not a crime issue. And they're being treated like prisoners. They're literally being treated like prisoners. People had different problems that they were experiencing. For example, I'll just give you one example. One of the gentlemen said that whenever he has called relatives and talked about the conditions at Dilley, and it's run by CoreCivic, that when he calls and talks to a sibling or something, that their number is then blocked by the company so that they can't call again. He can't call them back. So this is a monstrous machine that has been set up, and now it's being fed people who never committed a crime, people who are honest, hardworking people. I mean, you go in there and you see these kids that are, and the parents that are so broken, a lot of them, and I'm a parent. I have 3 kids, and my kids are 12, and my son's turning 10 on February 2nd, and then my daughter's 3.5. And you see these parents trying to be strong for their kids, but the hurt and the pain, and just as a parent, those of you that are parents know, you're supposed to be a strong person for your kids, and this system, it's just really just broken a lot of folks. And I was thinking about this, if all politicians who support this system would walk through these facilities and, not as Republicans or as Democrats, but really as just as a human being, and see what this system we have set up does. And specifically to the President Trump. The president is somebody that has grandkids himself. And I think some young grandkids, they're kids that are the age of his grandkids that are over there basically in this private prison, who can't figure out why they're there, who are depressed, who are crying. A little girl that came up to me, who was hugging my leg because she was so short, kept coming up to me and asking me and asking us to help get them out. So I hope that y'all will continue to speak up, that you'll continue to use your voice. This system has to change. And, by all accounts, it's being directed by Stephen Miller. And Stephen Miller has young kids too. And I'm sure he loves his kids. Well, there's kids that are his kids' age over there. And they didn't do anything wrong. And that kind of that malevolence or hatred on the issue of immigration, you're hurting human beings, you're hurting people. And for Stephen Miller, if you're going to be the architect of this inhumane policy, why don't you have the guts to go walk through these places and talk to these people and see what you're doing to human beings?
So that's Democratic Congressman Joaquin Castro talking there after leaving the Dilley Detention Center. The reason we were talking about that in the first place is that many of you out there saw a viral image of a 5-year-old boy in Minneapolis. His name is Liam Ramos, and he was essentially being held there by ICE officers, many people coming out and criticizing this photo. Instead of them being deported, a judge came in and essentially blocked that. So then they said, okay, they have to be moved to a detention center, which is obviously here in Texas at the Dilley Detention Center. Now, the family's attorney, the Ramos family attorney, says the family is in the country legally as they pursue a claim for asylum. The attorney then added they have shown up for their court hearings and pose no safety threat. The attorney then went on to say they were being held for civil immigration violations. And he goes on to claim that during the arrest, ICE agents then tried to use the child as, quote, bait, walking him up to the family's front door and having him knock on the door, asking to be let in. This is according to our sister station, Fox 9 in Minneapolis. I am reading this statement here from them. Now, the Department of Homeland Security, meanwhile, says repeatedly and voraciously they dispute this allegation. They claim instead that Ramos, the boy, was abandoned by his father, who tried to run away from those ICE agents. DHS said ICE officers tried to return the boy to his mother's custody, but claimed she refused to take the child. Ultimately, DHS said the father agreed to allow the child to remain with him in custody. DHS also claimed ICE agents cared for the boy during the operation. And Greg Bovino, who obviously has just recently left Minneapolis, the commander at large of Border Patrol, came out and said that the boy was being taken care of with the best care and that they were doing everything possible. And he was saying they were treating the little boy better than the father, who he says and claims was running away. So obviously this is, as we mentioned, this is something that's being talked about nationally. I'm sure many of you have seen the image of the boy. I'll just go back. This is Joaquin Castro at the Dilley Detention Center with Liam and his father. According to Congressman Castro, the boy was asleep during all of this, so he didn't get to really speak with him. He did go on to say in that video there, which was done as like a live Facebook video while they were driving back, that he says, according to him, this is his claim, he says there are no criminals at this detention center. He said many people are confused there. He said many of them are calling family members and sort of complaining about the conditions or complaining about what's happening. And then he's saying that those people are telling him that those phone numbers are then being blocked. So the same people then can't call their family members, of course, for whatever reason. Whether or not that's true, I don't know. Whether or not there are no criminals there, I cannot speak to that either. Congressman Castro says this is more of a civil issue rather than a criminal issue. He then went on to say that another girl had run up to him, grabbed him by his legs, saying, please let us out of here, and trying to get out. And then he also then goes to call out President Trump within that, saying, hey, President Trump, you're a grandfather yourself. You have, little kids in your family, urging him to have some sort of empathy towards this situation rather than having the kids in the detention center. And then he called out Stephen Miller, who, of course, is the, really the mastermind behind much of this and much of the rhetoric that comes out of the Trump administration, the deputy chief of staff. And he said, I know Stephen Miller has young kids as well. He says he knows he loves his kids, but he asked him also to have some more empathy with this. And he said he also believes he should be brave enough to go to these detention centers and try and actually witness it for himself. So Democratic Congressman Joaquin Castro certainly not pulling any punches there, coming both after Trump in particular and Stephen Miller, those two really at the forefront of this, saying, hey, if you guys want to actually see what's going on and see what the policies are being put forward, go and check it out yourself. And so we'll continue to follow this story, obviously, down there at the Dilley Detention Center. This stemming from Minneapolis, Liam Ramos and his family being sent down here rather than being deported as court proceedings continue. So a developing situation, we'll keep our eye on it. I also want to tease ahead to what we're going to show you guys after the break here. And we showed you a little bit yesterday from that terrible tragedy up in Frisco of a 16-year-old girl, Elizabeth Engel, who was killed in a terrible sledding accident. We do have another tragic update with that. We'll talk about it when we come back. Welcome back on to Austin Now on this Wednesday live on the Fox Local app. You can also watch us on YouTube Live as well. And of course, you can follow us on all of our social media pages at Fox 7 Austin. You can also follow me. I'm very active on Twitter at Alec on Fox 7, Instagram, Alec Nolan TV as well. I do want to show you guys some images before we get to our other story here that I talked about right before the break. But as I mentioned, Katie Pratt was out there just a few moments ago at a vigil being held for Alex Preddy, the 37-year-old in Minneapolis who was shot and killed during sort of a protest situation by ICE agents. We were told by DHS that the two men that fired shots are on administrative leave. And so I do want to show you guys some images from that vigil. I know we showed a little bit of an interview with a woman, and it's a bunch of nurses gathering essentially and showing solidarity, obviously because Alex Preddy himself was an ICU nurse. And so we're seeing a lot of nurses come out and offer their support. And so I just want to show you some of the images of while they were out there today. This was just a few moments ago. And so you can see here the signs being put up, ATX Solidarity. They say down here at the bottom, care not cruelty, and then you can look here on the left. There's a picture of Alex Preddy right there. He did work as an ICU nurse, you can see him there. So people putting up Post-its here, I'm not quite sure what those are. I'm assuming just kind thoughts and or words for him. Now you can see, zoom in. Alex, thank you for being a hero. I'm devastated by the loss of you. That's from Lucy. This person says, thank you for everything. This person up here, he died protecting another. We are going to take up his job for his sake. So people offering some thoughts here, and just, obviously these people did not know him, but they've certainly seen the stories out there. They've seen what has happened. A group of nurses here, the Nurses Association, coming together for 37-year-old Alex Preddy, who was shot and killed on Saturday. It's more of a outside look here from outside the center. You can see a group of people here. This man here holding an American flag. And so those are some of the images there. Katie Pratt will have more on that later. But I do want to go back to a story that we talked about yesterday, just a horrible, horrible story out of Frisco. Obviously, during this Arctic blast, we saw many people out there having fun in the ice, in the snow, and we saw so many of your images coming in as well, and we appreciate all of those. But we do know that this weather can be dangerous. We have seen the cars spinning out of control. We have seen people losing power. We have seen, even here, a homeless person dying due to hypothermia. So yes, in theory, it does sound fun, like you can go out there and ice skate or sled, but we do know that things can turn dangerous very quickly. And so yesterday, we showed you that this girl right here on the right, Elizabeth Engel, was with her other friend here. This is Gracie Brito, and the two were trying to have fun in this, Arctic blast snowstorm, if you will, and they were on a sled being pulled by a Jeep, according to reports, and the two 16-year-olds were being pulled in this sled. The Jeep struck a curb and then collided with a tree, and those girls appearing to collide with that tree as well. We knew yesterday that the girl on the right here, Elizabeth Engel, did die from her injuries. We were then told that her friend here on the left was still in critical condition, but according to reports this morning from Fox 4, our sister station in Dallas, both those girls have tragically died. Just a horrible story all the way around. I'll just read here. According to Frisco police, a 16-year-old boy was driving a Jeep, pulling the two girls on a sled near Majestic Gardens Drive in Killian Court. Witnesses told investigators the sled hit a curb, causing it to collide with a tree. When officers arrived, they found both girls in critical condition. Police performed life-saving measures before the teens were taken to a local hospital, where both later died. And so the parents of Elizabeth Engel actually spoke with Peyton Yeager, the reporter there at Fox 4, who has been covering this over the last 2 days. We do have that interview. It may be hard for some of you to actually listen to, obviously, if you're a parent out there, but these, the parents here talking about Elizabeth Engel. We haven't seen anything from Gracie's family as of yet, but I did want to show you guys this. It appears to be their home, and just a horrible situation. The parents trying to hold it together here, so we'll listen in to this interview as best we can.
Version of him,
yeah.
So don't worry about
okay.
whatever you say.
Okay.
Y'all are so strong for doing this.
I know, it's weird.
Isn't it?
Yes, it's just a roller coaster.
We just don't want her name to go away. If this helps.
I think so many people, even on social media, and we have gotten overwhelming response to this story because I just think sometimes you see stories on the news or on social media and it doesn't, it might not hit you, but I think that this hit every single parent during this snow weekend.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. I think, they are just like, stereotypical all-American teenage girls, just having fun. It never snows in Texas. And, obviously, we just thought Elizabeth was playing in the snow. We didn't know, that she was going to be behind a car, but,
Yeah.
and I think, I guess just it probably has hit home because, we're just regular people.
Mm-hmm.
And we, just try to be good parents. And it's just one of those things, you hear these stories and you think, like, that's never going to happen to me. And it did.
Yeah, and she was a good kid, and she was surrounded by good kids,
Yeah.
too. They were all such good friends, and they loved her very much, and she loved them very much. And, it's just really one of those unfortunate accidents. When it snows, you think, snow day, let's go have fun, let's be out and about. And unfortunately, there's real risks involved in an area that doesn't get this kind of weather, especially. It can be quite dangerous, as we found out the hard way, and as unfortunately Lizzie and her friends found out, it can be quite dangerous. And so we just hope that if there's anything to be learned from this situation, it's go out and have fun. Be safe though. And be smart about what you're doing out there.
Yeah. And I guess I would just say that, Elizabeth, they had a great group of friends, and it does make me feel happy that she was with her friends. She was with her best friend.
Yeah.
And they were holding on to each other, and then also just the amount of help. Obviously at the time we didn't, when we came upon the accident, but we didn't know, what led up to it. But we later found out just that friends of ours that live in our neighborhood actually performed CPR on her. And it just is just very comforting to know that there are amazing people out there that are willing to help in time of crisis. And I'm just really thankful for that. I think sometimes we can all get beaten down thinking like the world is bad, and I guess the good thing that has come from this is just seeing how many good people there are, and just our wonderful community. And we really want to thank everybody.
Yeah, the people that were with her, trying to resuscitate her before the medics showed up, people that we know, they're like angels to us. And the Frisco PD, the paramedics, they were amazing. There as quickly as they could, and they were so helpful, and even stayed with us. The Frisco PD stayed with us at the hospital as Elizabeth was taken down to Medical City in Plano. They stayed with us the whole time, and we're just so thankful for their support as well. They were incredible and professional and just the best.
And Elizabeth, she was our middle daughter, and she was really smart, and she was beautiful, and she was athletic. She was like one of those kids that was just like good at the things she wanted to be good at, and she was a good girl, and she loved her friends.
No,
she really did.
Yeah.
She loved us too, but
she loved us too. It was hard to keep her home because she really wanted to spend time with her friends all the time. And she was so dedicated to her soccer. You know, she would play a high school game and then turn around the next day and have 2 or 3 days of select soccer practice and then have a game. And in between, she's at the gym working out. Like, she just was so
she grinds,
focused,
like the grind.
just so focused on that, and was so happy, you know, playing and being with her friends and playing the sport.
Once again, if you're just joining us here on Austin Now, this is an interview with the parents of Elizabeth Engel, one of the 16-year-olds who was killed in that tragic sledding accident up in Frisco. This is her parents talking with Fox 4 up in Dallas yesterday.
The stories that we have in the strange hotel room activities that take place and all the weird smells.
That's a grind.
Yeah, it is. She was very dedicated. Like, I know a lot of kids, you know, like parents say, "Oh, I had to like drag my kid out of bed or something." Like, I never.
She was
She was very disciplined.
Yeah.
She was a really good girl.
But one of the things I think is really unique about Elizabeth is even when she was really little, and we were talking about this earlier, if we ever went out to get a haircut or something, and you know, you get the lollipop, she'd always say, "Let's bring home one for Caroline, her older sister." Always thoughtful about other people. And as she grew older, she was always the type that, you know, she had her friend group, but she would always bring people into the friend group. You know, she was very inclusive about wanting to include everybody, and she loved everybody. She just was so open and so caring, and we saw that, her develop that over the years, and we just thought that, you know, she had grown into such a wonderful person. And back to her fighting spirit, she always told us she wanted to be a pediatric nurse. She loves kids. She volunteered Bible vacation school at our church, and she just loved the toddlers, loved them to death, and would come home with a big smile on her face and talking about the kids and all the funny things that they would do and how much she loved it. I think she would have been a formidable lawyer, to be honest, because she was stubborn and she could argue, and she knew how to persuade, and she knew how to get, you know, to get what she wanted. She could do that. She was a remarkable person.
She sounds amazing. She sounds like incredible.
We were so lucky to have her.
Yeah, we were. I just can't imagine our family without her.
It's going to be really hard. We've got so much support. It's going to be really, really hard.
Yeah, it's just, I've just been waiting, like, I keep, like, hearing something at the door, and I just, like, think it's going to be her. But I just...
So there was an interview there with the parents of Elizabeth Engel, one of the 16-year-olds who tragically died in that sledding accident up in Frisco just a few days ago. Just a horrible story there out of North Texas. Unfortunately, we learned this morning, according to Frisco police, that a 16-year-old boy was driving a Jeep, pulling 2 girls. We knew Elizabeth Engel had died. We didn't know what was going to happen to her friend Gracie, but we learned that both of them died at the hospital. Just a terrible situation. Those parents showing a lot of bravery there, just getting on camera and trying to talk about her. As you heard her father there saying at the beginning of that interview, you know, hopefully this does something because we don't want to forget about her. We don't want to forget about her name. We want people to say her name. We want people to remember her. They were very complimentary of all the first responders. They said she had an amazing friend group, and a lot of those friends there that saw the accident happen, trying to resuscitate both girls during all of that. They said that the Frisco police stayed with him the entire time during this whole ordeal and said that it was extremely professional. They thanked the community for all the support, all of her friends as well. And then the mother there tearing up again, saying that she starts to hear things at the door and is hoping that when she opens the door, hears something, that her daughter will be coming home, their middle child there. That not the case. And then finishing it off by saying she doesn't know how her family will continue without Elizabeth being there. Horrible story. We're going to take a quick break. Welcome back into Austin Now, live from the Fox 7 Austin newsroom on this Wednesday. Right before the break, we showed you that really heart-wrenching interview with the parents of Elizabeth Engel, the 16-year-old, one of the 16-year-olds who tragically died in that sledding accident up in Frisco. During this Arctic blast, we saw many of you out there going out trying to have fun in this snow and sleet. But as we had mentioned, it can be very dangerous. And unfortunately, both those girls, Elizabeth Engel and Gracie Brito, both dying after we were told a 16-year-old boy was pulling them in a Jeep, hitting a curb, and then striking a tree. Both those girls later dying at the hospital. The parents trying to hold it together there, just horrible, horrible. And I know a lot of you out there that are parents, probably even hard to imagine and or watch. We do have another update, unfortunately, and this has to do with something else going on up here in North Texas. A Ponder high school football player is in the ICU after a sledding accident. And so we'll pull this up. This is also from Fox 4 up in Dallas, our sister station there. This is a picture of him. This is Caden Nowicki. He is a Ponder high school senior. He is in the ICU following a sledding accident that happened on Monday. According here, the 17-year-old was reportedly being towed in a kayak by an ATV. The kayak left the roadway and he was ejected. The community rallying support with the school district collecting food gift card donations for the family. What we do know so far, minor details here. Texas DPS said the crash happened around 2:30 p.m. on Monday in the 400 block of Amos Hill Road in Ponder. This is a town in Denton County, located about 50 miles northwest of Dallas. It's pretty much just north of Fort Worth there. According to a preliminary investigation, an ATV was towing a kayak as a sled. The The kayak left the roadway, causing the passenger, 17-year-old Caden, to be ejected, crashing into a fence. He suffered critical injuries and remains in the ICU at Medical City Denton. The driver and passenger on the ATV were not hurt. So just another terrible situation here regarding high school students. Those two girls up in Frisco, both 16-year-olds, both dead. We'll go back to their picture, of course, here. The two girls here picture what looks like going to some sort of spring, dance formal, if you will. Both those girls passing away tragically. We saw the interview of her parents talking, her mother in tears the entire time, her father trying to hold it all together, obviously, as well. And then here we have Caden Nowicki, who is also in the ICU. We don't have any updates. This was back around 2:30 in the afternoon, so nothing since then. I'm sure Dallas 4 will continue to give us more updates as we learn more. Horrible story on both fronts there. We are going to take another break. When we come back, we will try and wrap up the show. Wow. Welcome back to Austin now. Final couple minutes of the show. I know it has been a heavy show over the last couple days regarding these terrible accidents up in North Texas with sledding, and then, of course, those three boys yesterday that we got wind of, and those three boys dying in that frozen pond. Just horrible, horrible story. So we will try and end on a lighter note as we wrap up here at 7:30. Here's some good news, okay? Dogs. Dogs will always put you in a better mood. So this really awesome here. This was an invitation from Texas State University Police. Look at these guys right here. This is Mando and Baloo. Obviously, we were invited here to the swearing in of both of them, which took place at the LBJ Grand Ballroom. Just awesome dogs here. And they have graduated to therapy dogs. So, obviously, they look a little more calm. This is a German short-haired pointer, or GSP, if you will. I'm thinking this guy's a nice black lab here. I have a lab, so I kind of know the temperament here. But these guys seem pretty chill. Mando and Baloo, very cute, graduating to therapy dog. Our reporter Angela Shen was out there earlier. I know she does a lot of our 7 on Your Side stuff and looking into things a little bit more in terms of investigation. But this, a nice light story here, because dogs, of course, can always put you in a good mood. So congrats to both Mando and Baloo. Fantastic names. Love it. Great. Look at the head on this guy. I mean, just fantastic. Great looking dogs. Great looking dogs. Speaking of animals, this is also a good, nice story here. I posted this on my Instagram earlier, and this is really awesome footage here out of Corpus Christi area. And so you've got these sea turtles that are essentially cold stunned, as they call it, because those temperatures got so freezing. These guys really can't move down there. Look at the size of this guy. Awesome. They pull this guy up there. Look at this. Grab him with the net. Really cool. And try and save these guys because of these frigid conditions here. So really awesome video trying to save these sea turtles. Look at that. Awesome. Fantastic. This is from the Texas Parks and Wildlife. So they are experts. They know what to do. They were able to go out there and rescue these guys. Cold stunned sea turtles. So yeah, I know a lot of the news over the last hour has been very heavy. So hopefully we end on a light note there with some therapy dogs, which we all like, and of course some sea turtles being rescued. You can of course follow us here on the Fox Local app. Coming up at 9 o'clock, you'll hear more obviously from all of our stories throughout the day. And then again at 10 o'clock, going until 10:30, you can follow us on all of our social media pages, Fox 7 Austin. And of course, we will see you back here next Monday to continue from 6:30 to 7:30. And you can rewatch episodes on YouTube Live as well. Have a great night.